So, Nick, I'm going to announce it right now, man. Everybody's announcing their candidacies for 2020, and you know what? I'm going to do it. I am going to enter into the race. Film Fan 108 is officially entering the race, ladies and gentlemen. I am going to do it. We are going to make America film fans again. That's what we are going to do. And you know what? The best part about it? I want you as my vice, brother. I want you as my vice. Come on.
It's kind of a mundane job, though, you know?
What? No, it's not.
You give me a few areas of expertise, energy, finances, you know, military, and then we could talk about it.
What? I'm giving you all the power. That's not right.
Well, you know, that's the deal. You want me to be your VP? You gotta push and shove. You know, you gotta give me a few things.
I'll give you a chair and a desk. No,
I want about 6 offices. You know, I have to have offices in the Pentagon and the Congress and the Senate, and you know, I have to have a little bit of power.
What kind of scheming motherfucker am I gonna have in my campaign? What the fucking? God damn, man, you are just as bad as fucking Dick Cheney. God, you man.
I'm as fat as him, that's for sure.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I had to get that in there.
Big bone. That's what they call it, big bone.
Oh, no, it's not big bone. It's fat.
Oh, man.
Christian Bale must have gained like 50 pounds for this movie.
Welcome, everybody, to a brand new movie review where we talk about Vice right here. The biopic about Dick Cheney. And you know what? I got to admit, man, I really did like the trailers to it. I am somewhat of a fan of Christian Bale. I was curious to how this movie was going to be because of Dick Cheney and the controversies and everything. I was up for it. I mean, where do you want to start with Vice, sir?
One thing I really loved about the movie, which I did not know, it showed from the beginning, he was a human. And I think what we see in the politics and the media, you see Dick Cheney as a Darth Vader type of guy, like a villain, which he is, like the movie does show that, but you didn't really get to see him as a human. He was always kind of like somebody who wanted power, and he was a schemer, and he was kind of like a con art. I almost want to say a con artist and a manipulator, but you did get to see at the beginning of the movie how fucked up he was. He was almost similar. His story was very similar to Bush. It shows in the movie, and it shows in real life, and the media did show this, that he was an alcoholic, and he was a smoker. And his life, he didn't have anything really handed to him. He didn't have, like, rich parents and special. He got a scholarship to Yale. Actually had to drop out of Yale. It was because of his wife, Linny. He called her Linny. Her name was Lynn. Who really pushed him and said, look, you're not going to be an alcoholic. You're going to get your life together. And it was because of her that he became the man he was, which was not the best man, because she was just as much vicious as he was, which you learn. And you even learn that viciousness kind of carries on to one of his daughters. Not both of his daughters, but one of his daughters. You see the legacy kind of passes. So I think it was good. There was one part of the movie I really liked at the beginning. Slow down, where he's working on electrical lines. This is before he got into politics. A guy falls off the electrical lines, and I'm not going to give the spoiler, but you can see from that point how he handles it, what type of man he winds up becoming. Yes,
you're actually right. I almost forgot about that. And, you know, what's really fascinating about Dick Cheney, or anybody really in the limelight, or political figures in general, is how do they get to become the people that we eventually know them to be? And you know, whether you like Dick Cheney or not, I'm not a particular fan of the guy, but you have to at least be fascinated by the story to get where he got.
Well, I think you needed a movie like this because his life was so secret. And the funny thing, it really shouldn't have been secret, because you see the movie, I never knew he was the sole representative for, I forgot what state he was from.
Oh, I thought it was
Missouri, maybe?
I thought it was Missouri. I could have sworn.
Yeah, and he was the sole
Missouri,
representative for 10 years.
Wyoming.
Wyoming, yeah. Sole representative, and he got a lot of things he said no to, a lot of bills, very, very, very conservative, very staunch conservative. Actually, it's funny now that we're entering into Martin Luther King Day, he actually, in the video, you say this, do you want to make Martin Luther King a national holiday? His vote was nay.
Was nay.
So a lot of views. You also see, which we have to this day, there's a big point in the movie, the most important thing that he created during the Bush administration was the tax reform policy.
Yes.
That is so pivotal today, not to get political, but that's actually shapes our politics today, and showed in the movie how he used that tax reform. He basically did something, and this is not really political, that he used Luntz. He did something marketing politics. He marketed politics. No other politician did that. He said, how do we make a market? How do we go to war? How do we fight in war terror? How do we make it possible to achieve my task? The tax, the estate tax, which nobody really gave a damn about, guess what they changed the name to?
It was the death
tax. And that's
the death tax. Yeah.
Even staunch liberals like Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar, we have to get rid of the death tax. It was him who created that idea.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, this guy did, in my opinion, more harm than good.
Oh, very much damage. He changed the landscape of the country.
He did. And to think that one man could have done all that is, I mean, it just wasn't just one man, obviously, but he obviously was the key component to a lot of stuff.
But he learned and became better than his protege. Like, his teacher was Rumsfeld.
Was Donald Rumsfeld.
And then which a lot of people didn't know, and then he wound up becoming better than him. He wound up succeeding his teacher. There's a point in the movie where Rumsfeld says, "You think we'll get caught?" And Dick Cheney, as Dick Cheney asked, as I said, would say, "We're fine. We'll be fine." Like, everything slid shit right off of him. He just got off of it. And that was the amazing thing. This was a man that was nothing at the beginning, and it shows how he kept grabbing for power and kept going and going, and it showed how he had the support of his family. And the thing that was really, every other politician, if you had a gay daughter, it would be used against you. You realize that was never used against him when he ran for VP. That was off limits, and that was only he could do that. Like, this is off limits. He told the media, nope, this is a no. I mean, he had so much control. He was so powerful, and just shows, as it shows the human aspect of how he really developed. He wasn't a bad guy, but how he turned so evil.
This is true too, and what's great about the movie is seeing Christian Bale portray this, and I have to admit, man, Christian Bale really hits it out of the park, man. I mean, he portrayed Dick Cheney fantastically. I thought all of the mannerisms, all of the way he moves,
even
everything.
The smile, the way he did the crooked smile.
Yep.
The crooked smile, the way he because Dick Cheney, a lot of times, he did his hands a certain way. He would do his hands a certain way. I think, as you said, the mannerisms, the characteristics, he was really Cheney-esque.
He really did. He gained the weight. He shaved his head. He did. I mean, when Christian Bale does a role, he does a role, man. He gets into that shit. And this is one of those big roles. In fact, he won a Golden Globe for it. Not gonna lie, he thanked Satan for
well, that's another
him.
thing I want to get into. The acting between Amy Adams, who played his wife,
who did a great job,
who did a wonderful job. Rumsfeld, who was played by
Steve Carell.
I thought the acting was phenomenal, because as I said with the movie, and I've said this in a few movie reviews, it's not, if you're doing a political movie, especially a documentary, it's not just dressing up as the person. It's not it's not just doing the clothes, the mannerisms. It's, you have to act like that person. You have to take on that persona. No matter how much you might hate that person in real life, you have to take on that persona and actually become that person.
Well, like you said, the actors do a great job. Like, Amy Adams does a fantastic, wonderful job here. And from all accounts, from what I know, is that she actually stayed in character on the set. She actually stayed in character. She was very much wanting to portray this in the right way. And Steve Carell, who, we talked about it in the Chappaquiddick review, the idea of Ed Helms, who was in that movie, and he's a comedian in that one, did a great job. Say the same about Steve Carell. Steve Carell is a mainly comedic guy. He does dramatic roles, and he does them well here. But I was a little bit worried. I'm like, you're having Steve Carell do Donald Rumsfeld. That's a little risky, but he hit it out. He did a great goddamn job.
Even somebody, as I said, who did a brief, like, almost I want to say cameo in the movie, Tyler Perry, who we see, plays Medea, a funny role.
Yeah.
He played Colin Powell. And I thought it was genius. And I mean, I don't know how these people I don't think Colin Powell was really looked at in a bad light. He was actually kind of boosted up in this movie.
Yeah, a little bit.
But I think Rumsfeld and Cheney, they were really, they were given a bad light. But the thing is, and I agree with you here, wasn't the truth. I mean, I know the truth hurts, but you're just depicting what these people really are.
What these people really are. And the one thing I do want to say is that this is a biopic, and with any biopic, whether it's a musical one or a political one or whatever, there's a certain amount of truth and there's a certain amount of fiction, and you kind of have to balance both of them to a certain degree.
There was some exaggeration, but one thing I will say now, thinking about it, I would have to say this is about 80% true. 80%.
I think majority of it is true.
If you look a lot of the news and a lot of the interviews and a lot of this movie, I think a lot of it portrayed the truth about Dick Cheney and Rumsfeld, and portrayed it because look at later on what happened with Rumsfeld, what came out.
Yeah.
The Iraq War, I mean, not to get political, was basically, there was no reason we went in there.
No, well, there was no reason.
They were so strong that they not only convinced Republicans, they convinced 90% of the Democrats,
yes, they did,
to go into this war, and a lot of them regret their decision. That is, as I said, we have it now. Not to get, I don't want to get too political, but Trump uses it too with the media to his advantage. It's all about marketing, how you market yourself, and what they did. They were the first. Cheney was the first guy who says, we can't just do all politics. We have to somehow market this to the American people. They had focus groups marketing the war.
Yeah,
who does that?
I know. It's very bizarre, a lot of this stuff. So I think most of it is true. And what I really love about the movie also is that there's a lot of really funny moments in the film, too. It's not just dramatic stuff. Like, there's a lot of really funny stuff here where they're kind of portraying what they're doing. They're doing evil and not right things.
Remember the restaurant scene?
Yes, like they're in the restaurant scene, and the waiter is, oh, well, we have Guantanamo Bay, we have all this stuff. But they're playing it in a funny,
The
Patriot
Patriot Act, we have this, and this is funny, and it's like, so what would you like? And he says, everything. So you can basically do what the fuck you want.
Yeah.
There you go. And it was just funny.
And there's a great bit, too, we won't really spoil too much, where it almost is like, ended, like there was a credit sequence, and you whispered over to me, you're like, oh, Jesus, this can't be it, can it? Like, you're like, this is bullshit. And then it stops, and you're like, oh,
that was the funniest part of the movie. It's like, they're breeding dogs in West Virginia. And I'm like, what the hell?
You're like, what is this shit? Like, that's great. And I think the comedic tone here goes towards the director, Adam McKay, who is a very much more of a comedic director. I think he brought a very interesting style here. He also directed a movie called The Big Short.
Never saw it.
The Big Short is actually a movie about the eventual housing crisis.
Oh, okay.
That happened. It's dramatic, but it's got its comedic tones as well. Christian Bale's in that, Steve Carell's as well. So there's a lot of people.
Well, there was a really funny part of the movie, and I mentioned this because you could say Big Ball do well, but let's face it, the reason he had a heart attack, 5 of them, Dick Cheney, is because of the way he ate. He was a smoke way. But there's a point in the movie. The sequence, he's eating a donut, and there's a point in the movie it's like, and he goes, and I pretend I eat healthy. Dick Cheney was not a funny guy who, they asked him a question, it's like, yeah, and I eat healthy, as he's eating a donut. 2 scenes later, he has a freaking heart attack. I'm like, you know,
I will say this much, man. It has a lot of really great funny moments, comedic tones. But I will say this much: there's a lot of moments in here
that are
very sad and very haunting. Images of immigrants, images of people getting tortured.
Well, images of Guantanamo Bay, where they had the guy, which happened in real life. They had they actually showed it in the movie. There's a naked guy who has a leash around his neck,
and she's
carrying around like a dog leash,
and
take a picture. So they really did show basically what happened in real life. This wasn't just a fiction. They showed what was happening in real life,
and all of this stuff based on a guy that just was cruel for reasons that feel like you just wonder. Like why? Like what was the reason why?
There was something, and I learned a lot about this movie. I didn't know this, and I will say this, and I didn't know this, but the movie does say this. Everybody thinks Obama and his administration created ISIS, created the vacuum.
No.
You find out in this movie, because of Dick Cheney, what we did in Iraq, how we did go in, and we pumped up this guy who was a nobody. He's the one who created ISIS. Under Obama, it did become more powerful.
Yes.
And then Trump eventually did stop 95% of ISIS, whatever. But you realize ISIS didn't start under Obama. It started under Dick Cheney and Bush.
Yeah, and it's just, again, you know...
A lot of things, as I said, a lot of things I thought happened under Obama actually happened during Bush and Cheney.
It's crazy, and to think that, you know, as much as if you like Bush, you like Bush. But my thing about it is, like, you find out in this film, and whether it's the truth or not, it's hard to tell, but the idea that Bush really was, in a lot of ways, a puppet, and you see it in here.
Well, one thing, I did look it up, actually. The truth is, I looked it up before we did this review.
Sure.
He did have 6 offices, Cheney.
Yes, all that is true.
He really did have an office in the Pentagon. He had an office in the CIA. He had an office in Congress. He had an office in the House. He had so much power. The thing he talked about, unitary... whatever power, almost like a power you give to a dictator. He had those powers. He had more powers as the president. The way he was handling 9/11 and what was Bush doing? He was reading books to kindergartens.
Yes, and that's a whole thing.
And Cheney was handling it. So Cheney was really the president. He was the only guy. I mean, there was a point in the movie, and this happened in real life, where he claimed to be on the vice president committee. He knew he was going to be vice president. He did all these interviews, all these things. For himself, he didn't do finance records, health records, because any guy that has 5 heart attacks is not really qualified to be the vice president.
Yes.
But he bypassed all that.
It's really, at the end of the day, it's really fascinating. And again, like I said, I think it's built up by the performances. Also, we have to mention Sam Rockwell, who also plays George W. Bush.
Yeah, but he played such a small role.
It's a small role, but I still love Sam Rockwell. I really love seeing him.
I thought he did a good job. I didn't know who the actor was, but I thought he did a good job.
He did a great job. I think all of them do, with really solid directing and really solid storytelling. I think it comes out much better than I think I was even anticipating.
Well, the thing is, you see who his teacher was. You're not going to get a lot of performance. There was a woman who played Condoleezza Rice.
Yes, I forget the name of her.
She's very small. Like, you're not going to see. There was another person who was, you know, the main people who operated the government. You're not going to see Bush's team. When I say Bush's team, you're not really going to see a lot of Bush's. You're going to see Cheney's team. You're going to see his players.
You saw a little bit of Karl Rove, but that's about it.
Yeah, but you're going to see Cheney's players.
You're going to see Cheney's players, and this is the Cheney story, so it makes sense.
Yeah, you're going to see like how he took over the government. But I thought it was a brilliant movie. I thought the acting was phenomenal. I thought the acting was really great. I thought the plot really was good, because it was, I used to say, 80% true. A little bit of an exaggeration, but same thing with Chappaquiddick, I used to say, because Chappaquiddick had a bit of exaggeration too. That kind of had, I think, a Republican twist, so I think they wanted to make Ted Kennedy look worse than he was. I think they wanted to make Cheney look a little worse, but I think they did a better job, I'd have to say, in this movie, being a little bit more truthful than they did Chappaquiddick. I think Chappaquiddick was a little too exaggerated. I mean, very truthful, a little too exaggerated. I think this one was a little bit more truthful.
I agree. Let me end up asking you a question, actually, before we get to the grade rating and everything. So, when you look at somebody like a Dick Cheney, and I know you're not the biggest fan of him, honestly.
I told you I don't like him at all.
But do you see this movie and does it change your perspective of the man years later, or do you still have the same thoughts about the man? This movie didn't change it
No, it did change. It made me how my feelings got worse for him.
Got worse?
Yeah, I always knew he was kind of corrupt. I always knew Bush was a puppet president, and this made me, basically, the way they humanized him. What really showed me how evil of a person was, I said, it wasn't the whole movie. It was the beginning of the movie when he's working on the power lines, and you see when, I don't want to break it, what happens.
Yeah.
That basically led into, oh my God, this man is just pure evil.
Well, but I will say this, you know what, there's so much stuff, bad stuff that has happened since because of him. You know, one of the things being the whole thing with the cell phones and, you know, the recordings and, you know,
smart
still
TVs, you know,
to this day. And so there's a whole lot of stuff.
He initiated a lot of things that did not help our country, made our country worse, which I knew he did. Me being a political person, I'm not just, oh, I'm a diehard conservative Republican, or I'm a diehard this. I see the good in Republicans, I see the bad in Republicans, I see the good in Democrats and the bad. He did a lot more harm than good, and this movie, not only did it humanize him, it showed him, and take the politics, what type of man he is.
Yeah.
When I always say this, when I meet somebody and I hang out with somebody or I chill with somebody, I look at their morals. I look at what's in their heart. This man had an evil heart. He had an evil heart.
Yes,
he deserved the 5 heart attacks. I hate to say
yeah, well, yeah, and I mean, look, there's really, after all this stuff that he did, there's really no going back. I mean, I think there should be, but I don't think there is now anymore.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think he deserved that heart that he got when he was in his 70s?
I don't think he did, but at the same time, a man of his political nature, a man
he was going to get it.
He was going to get it. Did he deserve it? No, he did not.
Thank you. That's all. That you answered my question because I'm in the same view.
He did not deserve it, and
well, that was a key point. The guy who gave him the heart was the narrator of the movie.
Was the narrator of the movie, and something that I didn't know until the very end, where that was him. And not to dwell on it too much, but there is a motif that goes throughout the movie.
Yeah, we don't have to dwell on. Yeah,
but his heart and the idea that
my motif is the heart gets black.
It's black, and that you almost feel like, ooh, like that's his thing. It's an interesting motif. It's a very interesting movie. A lot of really great, interesting parts to it. Very well done. I mean, what's your final thoughts and grade rating on Vice, sir?
I'd have to say the acting was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Stephen Carell, Tyler Perry, Amy Adams, Christian Bale. The acting was wonderful. The plot, the showing how this man was a ghost, how he just basically took over the entire government and changed how things were done.
Yeah.
I thought it was brilliant. My grade rating, I'd probably have to say, because there was a few things I didn't like.
What were the things that you didn't like?
The things I didn't like, I didn't like how the daughter, they kind of made the daughter a villain too. That was kind of a turnoff for me. I mean, she wasn't as bad as her father. They said, he wanted to carry the legacy. They wanted to make her, she's another Cheney. That was the one thing that kind of really turned me off. I didn't realize Lynn was that evil. I don't think she really is. I think they made her worse than she really is, that she was out as much power as. So that's another thing I didn't like. So it says because of that, I'd have to get a solid A. Definitely a movie's worth seeing.
Oh, absolutely. It's worth seeing. And, we've seen a lot of movies over the course of this sort of winter season that's been sort of very Oscar worthy. This is another one that's Oscar worthy as well. I don't think it's going to get as high praise as what other ones have, but I think it should. As you said, the performances are great. Those actors, they go full in on it. They really do. Adam McKay, who's, again, more of a comedic director, I think he does a really solid job with this, like he did with The Big Short. I think he takes subject matter that is a little bit divisive and very much a personality from someone who not many people really care for, and spins it into something really fascinating and interesting. I really did like it. I think it has a balance of funny, but yet very dramatic and very powerful at the same time. It's well worth seeing, especially if you're somebody who loves political type of film. This is definitely very interesting. Something that deals with modern day issues, even some from back in like the Nixon era. It definitely does a lot of different points of views. Very fascinating. To me, I'm gonna give it an A as well. I really did enjoy it. Very, very fantastic. And are you gonna reconsider like the whole like not a lot of power thing? Are you gonna no. If I'm the VP and I'm taking a mundane job like that, you're giving me finances, I want military, and I want energy. And I want my 6 fucking offices. And I want a secret office too that nobody knows about. I have to have a secret office. You want a secret? What do you mean secret office? What is this? I have to have a secret office that not even the president knows about, that I can talk to like my henchmen. You're actually gonna have henchmen? Yup. Jesus, you're already telling me you're going to be evil. This is... Yep. Oh, my God. Guys, I may still run for president. But don't worry, he's not going to have any real power. You're talking to the guy who's... You're not going to know much about me, but I'm going to have all the power, okay? Oh, my God. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the review. If you did, definitely give it a thumbs up. Talk to President Seth Brenner and VP Nick Nagy. You don't need to know much about me. You just need first name basis, Nick. That's all we need to go by. I'm the one with the real power. Guys, let us know what you think of the movie. And do you think that we'd make a good pair for the election cycle here? I'll have power, I swear. I won't abuse it. I can't say the same for this guy.
Look at this face. Look at this face. I'm a good guy. You could trust me, just like you could trust Jeannie.
I might have to pick a different VP. All right, guys, take it easy.